Hey, I'm Follygon, and I love taking awesome 2D artwork and translating it to 3D through a process called digital sculpting. This time I'm working off of an image from Lord Gris of a Pineberry Girl. A pineberry is exactly like a strawberry, but it tastes like a pineapple, apparently. I've never had one. It sounds amazing. If you don't know who Lord Gris is, well, you've been missing out. Lord Gris is known for their artwork of stunning female portraits in a variety of styles over on their Instagram. And personally, I'm a really big fan of not just her work, but also of Frogist, a super cool art challenge that she made this past year where you create, yep, you guessed it, frogs. But before we get in and start working on this character, click that subscribe button if you are new around here, and if you'd like to download things like my custom brushes or check out any of my online courses, there are some links down in the description where you can check all of that out. I've also just launched a Patreon, which I'm super excited about. I'll say more on this at the end of the video, but there are some awesome rewards over there if you'd like to check it out now. I've sculpted a ton of characters in the past. Most recently, I did a personal project of Haunter, the Pokemon. I've actually worked on Pokemon professionally, as well as before that, I did Dipper Pines from Gravity Falls. Both a ton of fun. Links down below if you haven't checked them out yet. And I know exactly what you are wondering. You are wondering, where's he gonna go from here? Where's he gonna start with this character? And if you've been here for a while, you know exactly what I'm gonna say, and that is with a blank canvas and a ball of digital clay. Time to get to sculpting, and what better place to begin than with a blockout? Think of a blockout as the initial sketch of a sculpture, trying to put in all the different parts without worrying about how things are looking too much. Proportions? Forget about them. We'll deal with those later. In general, I love to start working on the face. It is the focal point of the character after all. Also, it's the part that requires the most amount of time. Faces are so tough. More on that soon. You may notice that it looks nothing like the character. Well, give it some time. This is only about 10 minutes in, and sculpting takes quite a while. Longer than 10 minutes at least. I enjoy getting down the major proportions here first. So I look for things like the basic shape of the nose, lips, and brow. I'm not concerned with things even looking like the character at this point, because I need something on my canvas before I can really start to push in that direction. Over time, I'll start to soften many different parts of the face. More feminine shapes tend to be more soft and round, while more masculine shapes tend to be more rough or sharp. You may be wondering then why I have all these sharp lines all over the place. Well, maybe you weren't, but if you were, good eye. This is a technique in sculpture to find what is called a plane break. That is the point at which a surface changes directions, and it can be very difficult to find those on soft or round shapes. Hence why I make these sharp edges everywhere. Then after I'm happy with the placement, I'll start to soften those forms to be closer to the original Pineberry Girl. I keep wanting to say strawberry, but it's time for us to make the pineberry. For this, I use something called Radial Symmetry, which is super fun to play with and not something that I get to use all that often. So it does exactly what it sounds like. It applies symmetry radially around your form. And then there are a bunch of different settings to play with for that. You'll see as I carve into one area, it applies it all around the rest of that shape. Pretty cool, right? Well, I do recommend that anytime you use symmetry tools like here, that you go back over them later to break things up so that they don't look so perfect. That way, they feel more organic and not so uncanny. Next up, I need to start getting some hair on this gal. Hair is so important to the overall feel of a character. The way it frames the face, it really changes the overall proportions of everything. Have you ever seen a friend after they got a new hairstyle and they look completely different? Well, it's the same thing here on 3D characters. Slight changes can make a big difference. And actually, that's what sculpting is all about, making lots of small changes that eventually build up into big changes. For those keeping track at home, we are nearing in on the 1 hour mark. How fun, right? Well, maybe not, because we're about to enter into what many artists like to call the alien phase. If you're brand new here, you might be thinking, I'm a fake, I'm a sham, what is this terrible thing behind me? That is okay. Everybody during the early stages of sculpture, or really any artwork in general, it just looks bad. You're in the early stages, and I want you to know that that is okay. You should be confident and know that this is not a representation of where your artwork is going to be later. So what is this alien phase? Well, in short, it's when your character looks all jank like this. For me, it's not even something that I think about anymore. I'm constantly looking at where I'm going and not where my sculpture is right now. So as we progress, you'll most likely see areas that you will want to change or have tweaked. And don't worry, I am seeing them too. But you can't get caught up on what it looks like right now. You have to keep pushing forward to get to a better place, keeping your eyes on the horizon, not on your feet. With enough time, you'll start to slowly push out of that alien phase and move on to something that is much better. One thing that can really help with that is color. Take that, traditional sculpting. You can't do that with real clay. Well, I guess there is colored materials, but anyway, color. It's so helpful for figuring out your proportions and everything else. It's when things start coming alive. No, it doesn't look like the character yet, but it is heading in the right direction, closer and closer with each step. So we've blocked out pretty much everything now, and we can enter into a stage of refinement. This is when I take what I already have and, well, refine it. These are often really small changes over a long period of time that ever so slightly begin to build up. Honestly, this is a really hard part of sculpting for exactly that reason. You can be working on something for multiple hours and feel like you're not making any progress at all. But not until you load up that older version from yesterday do you notice how far you've come. That's why it's equally important not just to look forward at where you're going, but also look back at where you came from. Not just on one project as you work on it over time, although as I pointed out that can be very helpful, but also on your art career as a whole. If I look at things I made from when I started sculpting, it's almost comical. And if you want to see some of that old stuff yourself, you can scroll back down to the bottom of my Instagram, and that's really not even how deep the rabbit hole goes. You could probably do some Googling and find some really old stuff, which I'm totally not embarrassed by, and I don't think you should be either. I think it's actually really nice to see other artists and where they started versus where they are now, and know that everybody starts in the exact same place. Moving on, not only am I refining the face at this stage, but I'm also working on the hair as well. I really enjoy the way that Lord Gris separates her hair into these large, defined chunks. It's a beautiful style that I am personally a big fan of. Those seeds on the hair are also really cool, but it's going to be a while before I can start to get those into place. Hair is very difficult to sculpt and requires a lot of patience. You'll notice as I sculpt the hair that I jump around quite a lot. I do that so I don't get tunnel vision. That's when you're focusing in on one area so long that you forget about the bigger picture. So I make sure to take a step back every once in a while to assess how everything looks together. I'm really enjoying working on this character, and I think she's shaping up quite well, starting to lean a little closer to the original illustration, but hey, still a lot of work to do. If you're enjoying the process and want to learn more, check out my Patreon, where I'll be going more in depth on the characters that I create in these videos. There's also a private Follygon Discord where you can share your art, see what I'm working on behind the scenes, and talk directly with me. There's a bunch more rewards, check it out, there's a link in the description. Now back to our good Pineberry friend, because it's now time to chop it in half. Now in real life we could just go grab a knife, but here I use a slice brush. These types of brushes are really cool for chopping things up. But of course there's no actual flesh inside this fruit, so I have to make that myself. And we can't forget about those leaves on top. These leaves were actually really hard to do. Not because leaves are difficult to make, but because of the angle that they are in for the original illustration. Something you probably don't think about very often is how well something can actually be translated from 2D to 3D. And that's not really the fault of the original 2D artist. They are typically not expecting a 3D artist like me to come over and take one of their artworks and make it into 3D. So quite often, their work will have a few areas that simply just don't work in 3D. So not everything is going to fit perfectly, pixel for pixel on screen and line up. And that is what I wanted to show off here, how I have to kind of cheat some stuff to kind of angle it and maybe make it align just that tiny bit more. The leaves were one of those areas, so I had to finagle them around longer than I would have liked to admit, but I will anyway. We're around the 5-hour mark on the sculpt, making some good headway. Can't forget the juice that's spilling over the side of the berry. That's a super cool effect. Up to this point, I haven't actually overlaid the 2D image with my sculpt. I've just been eyeballing everything up to this point, doing my best. Once I break symmetry, however, that is when I'll start to better align everything together. Then little things like the juice spilling over will look more accurate, as well as the face and everything else. But before doing that, I need to get that hand in there still. I don't want to say I forgot about it, but I may have put it off a little. Hands are super tough, second only to faces in my opinion. And when they're interacting with something else, whoo boy, they get even more difficult. This one will be holding that little string around the neck. Not a crazy interaction, but still tough. And now, finally, it's time. Time to break symmetry. Up to this point, almost everything has been mirrored from left to right, symmetrically. That just makes this whole process faster. Work smarter, not harder, right? Unless, of course, you want the extra practice, then by all means, go right for it. I treat posing like I treat sculpting, beginning by blocking out my pose, so I just move things into the rough position, and then refine from there. Anytime you're going to pose, some things are kind of bound to break. And that definitely happens here. I did a lot of back and forth just trying to get all the different aspects of this 3D character to line up with the 2D one. And as I said before, that's not always possible, but I still like to push myself to get as close as I can. The face is definitely one of those areas, and I'll talk more about that soon. I noticed I was missing some goo, so I had to get that in there, dripping down from the top portion of the pineberry. This part is so much fun. I love creating these kinds of organic forms. Then I need to get some of the seeds in the hair, maybe a little time consuming, but hey, it all needs to get done the same. While adding those in, I adjust the hair a little as well, making sure things are looking good. Some more drippy bits, this time on the hand. While I'm there, I'll make sure the fingers are lining up with the actual hand. As of right now, they aren't even connected, and that doesn't really make too much sense, right? So some quick cleanup to a few different areas there. Back again for another proportional check. I'm not sure if the arm is going to work in this pose or not, but I'm not giving up. I'm working hard here to make this align, but some of it just really doesn't want to. This is often the stage where I see people call it quits, saying it's good enough, and in a lot of ways, it is. But I don't want good enough. I want to grow and improve my art, and I think we all want that. So in these end stages, really push yourself to take your artwork to the next level. I could honestly call her finished at this stage, but I love pushing my characters into those fine details at the end that maybe last 5% or so of polish to really make her shine and make her feel like the original illustration. I'm getting really close. There are still a lot of little details here that need to be worked on, but I'm so happy that things are slowly starting to get better. The face is going to need some more work, and a lot of that has to do with the eyes and some painting I need to get done, but I can see the finish line. Next up, I give everything a once over, taking a look at adding some folds to the fabric. Love me some folds, especially when they're nice and simple like this. I go back over the hair, adding in secondary forms by carving in and building up strands of hair. This is a really cool effect that I do for a lot of my stylized hair, plus it looks pretty similar to some of the brush strokes on the 2D artwork. I initially do this a lot stronger than I think is necessary, so I go back and soften it later. I found that struck a nice balance between having some more visual interest in the hair, while not being such an overpowered effect that it became the main focus of the entire character. The more I work on this face, the more I realize how crazy the perspective is. There's just enough of some little wonkiness, yes, wonkiness, a very technical term, going on there that it throws off the proportions of the face. If I were to line this up 1-to-1, it would look beautiful from the main view here, but every other angle would look pretty silly. And because I'm translating this character into 3D, I want it to look great from every angle. So there are some sacrifices that happen there, but I'm still really happy with the way that not just the face, but the entire character turned out. The total time on this character from blank canvas to final render was roughly 15 hours. As the final step of the process, I'm going to jump over to Blender to render the character. There's a lot that goes into this, and I feel like I could make an entire video just about that. In fact, I did, and it's available at the Gumroad link in the description. Now, if you skipped here to the end to check out the final character art, yeah, I caught you, but no worries, I appreciate you checking out my work all the same. However, if you liked the finished character, I know you'll enjoy going back and checking out some of the process as well. I love getting to share my process with all of you so much, and that is exactly why I am launching a Patreon. I want to spend more time creating 3D characters just like the one in this video, sharing more of that process with you. Get a behind the scenes look at what I'm working on and join the Follygon Discord where you can chat directly with me and all of the great people sharing their artistic journey there as well. I'm also offering downloads of the characters I create in these videos with real-time tutorials that dig deep into how I create my artwork. Namely, you can get a download of this character plus a tutorial doing a deep dive on different aspects of how I made this finished artwork. Check it out. I can't wait to have you join the community at patreon.com/Follygon. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Click that like button if you did. Click that subscribe button if you aren't, and check out my links in the description for my online store where you can find my brushes, the Appeal Academy, which is my mentorship program, and of course, my brand new Patreon, which I'm so excited to be launching here. There are some awesome rewards over there. Go check it out. Links are below. You guys have been great, but it's time for me to get back to work on a new character. So I'll see you in the next video where I will be transforming something new from 2D to 3D.